بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Inshallah, we're going to continue where we left off last time. So in the last two sessions we covered regarding the Dajjal and the different aspects of Dajjal. We covered two main hadith of the different types of Dajjal that we have information on. The first one was to do with regarding Ibn Sayyad. So Ibn Sayyad was he the Dajjal or not, and we covered quite a few. And then we have Tamim al-Dari radiallahu ta'ala an. He had also tried and mentioned regarding his story, and there was so many different companions and Sahaba that narrated different aspects of Dajjal, his features, who his followers were, how he will be, what kind of powers and abilities does he have, the way that he travels, and he'll have a very large army. Some battles he will win and some battles he will lose. And then we mentioned regarding the Armageddon, which we'll come up to inshallah, and the Great War and the Malhama, the Malhamatul Kubra, and that's something which will be the next session inshallah. I will continue with some of the hadith. And some of the hadith mentions here that he will live, Dajjal will live for 40 amongst you. So 40. What does 40 mean? Whether it's 40 years, 40 days, 40 months, what was it talking about here? So the hadith mentions here that one will be like 1 year, one will be like 1 month, 1 day will be like 1 week, and the rest will be regular days. So how long will that take? How long is that? Is it going to be 1 year, 1 month and so many days? Or is it going to be something different? Like 1 day will feel like 1 year, or 1 day will feel like 1 month, or 1 day will feel like 1 week. Is it going to be like this? This is open to interpretation as well. It's possible both can happen, and it's possible that it can be 1 day will be like 1 year. And even look how the Sahaba, when listening to this hadith, and they were mentioning regarding, okay, if it's 1 day is going to be like 1 year, and they took it literally. A lot of the things they did take literally, but the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala, they automatically thought about their salah. They automatically thought about their salah and thinking, if 1 day is like 1 year, then how do we read our salah? How do we fit in all of the salahs? And if it's going to last for 1 year and so forth. And this is a question that they came up inside of their minds. This is because they had the love of the salah. That's because they had some, the salah was part of their lives. If there's no sunlight, example, for 1 year, it could be like that. Allah alam, Allah knows best. So they said, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave the reply by saying, estimate it. He said, estimate the salah, estimate the timings. So whether that could mean actual that 1 day is like 1 year, and estimate it according to how many hours is between or something like this, then this is also a possibility. This hadith is mentioned in Muslim and Bukhari as well. I wanted to mention some other parts regarding the Dajjal. So the Antichrist, you have the Masih and the Masih al-Dajjal. What is the Christian point of view? Amongst the Christians, and there are many different aspects and different groups of the Christians. Amongst them is regarding the Baptists and the evangelical Christians, and then you have the Catholics, and then you have Protestants, and all the different types, right? So amongst the evangelicals, which is, I suppose, a lot of them in America now, and the Baptists as well, they have some here, they have very similar beliefs regarding the Masih to the Muslims. They believe that the Messiah, the Masih, will come down at the end of times, and they also believe that the Bani Israel, the modern day Bani Israel, will have to be in the Holy Lands for that to happen. If the Bani Israel, the modern day Bani Israel, is in the Holy Lands, then only the Masih, Isa alayhi salam, will come back. Hence why you find evangelical Zionists. The other evangelical Christian Zionists. You find Christian Zionists. Why? Because they want to hurry up the process. They want Isa alayhi salam to come down. They want to hurry up the process by letting all these people into the Holy Lands as quick as possible. So they want to kind of quicken this process and do this. And once all of the people are there, then what happens? They know that all of the modern day Bani Israel will be destroyed. So they're actually saying, yeah, we'll help you to get into the Holy Lands as quick as possible, and we'll do this and we'll do that, but we know that all of you are going to be destroyed anyway, so you can go there as much as you want. That's their kind of ulterior kind of motive that they have. So they're trying to move on this process, and evangelicals are usually the one that they have this similar belief. Evangelicals comes from and stems from the word Injil. Evangelical stems from the word Injil, and this is where the name stems from. The Jewish tradition, what does the actual Jews say regarding Masih al-Dajjal? They believe that Masih al-Dajjal will not be a religious figure. He's not going to be a prophet or they think that this is a king. Masih, Isa alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam, Masih, Isa alayhi salam, will be a king. So what happens is that a future king, Masih will be the future king from the descendants of David, Dawood alayhi salam. And he'll be anointed, and he'll bring the new times in, and he'll be a political figure, king, a political figure, not a religious figure at all. And he will reconstruct the temple of whatever the temple was, the temple of Solomon or David or Solomon, whatever it is. And this is very, when you look at in the time of Isa alayhi salam and their belief, why did the Jews try to kill or try to go against Isa alayhi salam? One of the reasons is because of, at the time of Isa alayhi salam, he started to preach, and when he's preaching, obviously he's claiming he's Masih. Isa alayhi salam is Masih. When they're hearing he's Masih, they said, okay, our version of Masih is he's a king. So this Jesus here is not a king, so he's false. And we believe that he's going to be a religious, political figure, and not a religious figure. This one is preaching religion. That means it can't be this Masih that we're talking about. And he's going to reconstruct the temple. It's not him. So what do? While realizing that they have not saying that this is Isa, this is not him. So what will happen is they'll say, let's go. So they went to the Romans. They went actually to the Romans, and they said, look, this person, he's preaching this and he's preaching that, go get rid of him. And eventually what happened had happened, inshallah.
Brother, is the Audi white color MF59TMZ? It's front of the parking of the tennis court. Please move your car.
He's been there for the afternoon. Afternoon, sir.
Maybe someone else.
So they're expecting the Masih, the coming of Masih, the Jews expect him to be a king. And Isa's name was not, so that's hence why they rejected, one of the reasons why they rejected Isa alayhi salam. In the same way, they think that Isa will come as a king, not as a religious figure at all. Even when you look at the most famous Jewish scholar of all time, they call him the chief rabbi, they call him Rambam, they call him Maimonides, Musa bin Maimun. He is also very famous amongst the Jewish. So anyone that knows the Jewish tradition, you find Maimonides is very famous. He is the chief rabbi. He even studied Arabic, he even studied the Quran, he studied the fiqh, he studied hadith, he studied so many. This Maimonides even wrote a book about Aqidah of the Jews. He wrote the Aqidah of the Jews, and he read the 13 principles of faith in Judaism. So he's talking so much about the Jews, and he's talking so much about regarding Judaism and so forth. So this is what he wrote. Amongst them, he says that I believe in the coming of the Masih, and I wait for his arrival. So this is something which is awaiting for his arrival. He even says it. So even the Jews actually believe in the Masih and the coming of the Masih. And amongst the Jewish groups, you have three types, and you have the Orthodox, and you have the Conservatives, and the Reformish. So the Reform is the majority of the people you see nowadays. Reform, they've changed and they've mixed up everything. The Orthodox is the original. The more pious they are, the faster the Masih will come. The more pious they are, the faster the Masih will come. The Conservatives are in the middle. They dilute their religion. And the Reformers is completely, they don't even believe in the Masih. They don't believe in much anyway. So don't become like those Jews, and don't water down the religion so much, and don't be like a reformist. So even the Muslims can actually take a lesson from what the Jews have gone through. Why? Because we don't want to reform our religion. We're not conservative at all. We are fully in a way that is from the Quran and the Sunnah. We don't want to change anything from which is the Quran and the Sunnah. We're happily following the Quran and the Sunnah even 1,500 years, still now, we're fully happy to follow the Quran and the Sunnah how it was in its original form. So we don't want to water down our religion. We don't want to change our religion at all. Our aqidah is our aqidah. It's not going to change. Our aqidah is something which is there. Alhamdulillah, we have this. We have our Quran in its purest form as well. So this is why we find all of these. So I'm mentioning regarding the Jews. Why? Because we can learn lesson from them. So even the hadith mentioned that many of the followers of Dajjal will be the Jews. Many of the followers of Dajjal will be the Jews. Not all the Jews will be followers. I'm just saying that many of the Dajjal followers will be Jews. And once the major war will start, the Armageddon will happen. And Isa alayhi salam versus Dajjal and all of his different factions, the followers of Dajjal will disperse and hide. Meaning, once Isa alayhi salam destroys Dajjal, then you'll find that the followers of Dajjal will run away and they'll start to hide. And there's one hadith which is very famous regarding the trees. He mentioned in Muslim that the creation will side on the followers of Isa alayhi salam. The creation, who's the creation? The plants and the animals and everything. Every tree and every rock will say to the believer, every tree and every rock will start to speak and say to the Muslim, come, there is a Jew hiding behind me. Come, there is a Jew hiding behind me, come and kill him basically. Except the tree of Gharqad, which will be quiet. So what does this hadith tell us? Is it telling us to kill every single Jew? No, it's not. Is it anti-Semitic? No, it's not. What is it? A person who is a Semite. Who's a Semite? Semite is an Arab. How can we be anti-Semitic when our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was from the Arabs? Sahaba from the Arabs. So it doesn't make sense for us, this wording. But it's not anti-Semitic at all. Why is it not anti-Semitic? Because it's telling you something's going to happen in the future. It's not telling you to go and command and kill Jews now. It's telling you that, so this is a prediction that's going to happen in the future. If you don't believe in it, then it's your fault. As in, it's nothing to do with us. But we're just giving you a prediction that we believe that's going to happen in the future. So how can it be anti-Semitic? So this is something to be wary of. Some people who say, "Oh, this hadith is anti-Semitic." No, it's not. It's nothing like this. And this anti-Semitism is something which is completely new. What is it? 60, 70 years ago, 1947, when this anti-Semitism came about, and it's not like a Muslim thing. So and remember this, that we've got to realize that how the Muslims actually treated Jews over the 1,000 or so years. How under Muslim rule, how did the Jews kind of even flourish? When they got kicked out of the Christian lands and they kicked out of Europe, then the Muslims took them in. When they got kicked out of 1492, when they look at Spain, they even got kicked out of there. Who took them in? The Ottomans took them in. So yeah, we'll take them in. They've got knowledge, and then they can go and practice their religion. So even when they had the freedom to study their religion and then practice their religion, have their practices and so forth, they were allowed to do this. But amongst any other kind of a group, they weren't allowed to do this. So you see that the justice of Islam is very, how they looked after the Christians and the Jews, especially the Jews, who are the most intolerated amongst all of the different groups. But yet the Muslims took them in and so forth. So these hadith are just predictions, not prescriptions. They are predictions of something, but not prescriptions. They're not prescribing you to try and do this against the Jews and so forth. It's rather, this is a prediction, this will happen in the future. They're going to be like this, they're going to be like that. So all of this leads towards, you have Dajjal and Isa alayhi salam. But all I mentioned regarding was the leading up towards Dajjal, we have a great malhama. You have a great malhama. You have the great war. You have al-malhamatul kubra. What is this war? And what is this information that we have regarding this war? Is it many battles and then you have a major war? Is it a series of major wars? Or is it one war which is the final battle between Dajjal and Isa alayhi salam? And this is what I will start off with inshallah from tomorrow, from next time I come inshallah. And I'll mention regarding just an introduction towards this, and then before even going towards Isa alayhi salam, I'll start with al-malhamatul kubra. Lots of people ask regarding al-malhamatul kubra. Lots of people ask regarding the Great War, and these are so much questions come about. And yes, lots of people have made ijtihad regarding this because there's different, it's very cryptic, it's very ambiguous. There will be, number one, many battles leading up to the Great War. So there's lots of qital and lots of bloodshed and lots of wars that will happen leading up to a major war. So it's not World War I or World War II, that's happened already. Whether you want to call it World War III or World War IV, this is up for interpretation. So a hadith has mentioned civil wars amongst the Muslims. There will be lots of civil wars amongst Muslims. Muslims fighting Muslims. This will be one of the signs of the Day of Judgment. The Muslim, and it will lead up to a massive war, Isa alayhi salam and Dajjal. And this will be near the end of the times. Even so that they will have, one group will have allies of non-Muslims, and the other group of Muslims will have allies of non-Muslims. So we Muslim against Muslim and have allies of non-Muslims at the same time. So this will be the great bloodshed. You want to call it Armageddon, you can call it Armageddon. And there will be many great wars until a final war which has Isa alayhi salam and Dajjal. Is there any time frame of these wars? No, not really. There's no real time frame of these wars. Will it only happen in one place, like only in Arabia? It will only happen in Arabia or Sham or Iraq or Yemen or any of these places, Makkah, Medina. Will it happen there? There's some hadith that has been mentioned. There are certain things, but it looks like there's probably going to be many wars, and probably outside of the Arabian Peninsula as well. So we find that probably it might happen all around the world. Allah knows best. It might even happen in these different parts of the different areas where all the Muslims are, or whether everyone comes in. And how does everyone gather in? Does something happen? And I'll mention in detail a few things regarding what is a possibility, and then you can put your the pieces together and try to work out what could it be, especially in the technological era that we're living nowadays. Does it make sense? Does it not make sense? And these are some hadith that I will start to mention regarding this. But it's a very terrifying state of the ummah. It's a very terrifying state of the ummah that Muslims will be fighting against Muslims in a massive war, in a huge war, huge battles, Muslims against Muslims. This is very terrifying to try and see that we're going down that road and that route, and then we're going to go down in that manner. So we should see what happens. But these are some of the predictions and the hadith have been mentioned regarding al-malhamatul kubra, which we will cover inshallah next time around. But this is something to really be prepared for. Number one is, how do you be prepared? Spiritually, you're prepared that this is a prediction. This is part of the aqidah. This is part of the signs of the Day of Judgment. This is one thing. Mentally, be prepared that something might happen and the world is going very fast down a dark hole. And thirdly, to be physically prepared as well. To be physically prepared for any kind of battle. A Muslim must always be strong. A Muslim must always be fit. A Muslim must always know exactly how to handle himself and protect his family, protect his brothers. A Muslim must know this, and he must be prepared for this. Whether you're of this age or that age, whether you're young or whether you're old, but you must have the ability to, let's just give an example, a modern day example. If somebody was to attack your house, would you be able to defend your family according to the law of the country that we're living in? Would you be able to defend your family? If they're behind you and they're upstairs, would you be able to defend yourself? So to be prepared is very important. Physically be prepared to look after your family is very important. Mentally and spiritually. And spiritually we're talking about regarding what's going to happen in the future. These are just predictions. I'm only mentioning regarding a hadith and predictions which have been written many years ago. So this is something to try and think about, and inshallah be prepared to try and look after your own family, and spiritually and mentally as well at the same time. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the ability to act upon what's been said. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from the fitna of Dajjal, and to protect us from all the different types of bloodshed and war and qital that's going to happen. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us make the correct decisions when the time is right. We also ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us physically strong, mentally strong and spiritually strong as well. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also to forgive us in this month of Ramadan and make us aware of the things that's going to happen in the future. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also to accept us for the khidmat of deen and accept all our ibadat in the month of Ramadan. Subhanallah bihamdi, subhanallah bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Inshallah, if everyone can make their way towards the tent, inshallah, to the back, and then you can make the du'as there, inshallah.